Hello everyone, and welcome back to Geography Lists. Today, we are going to be looking at the country of North Korea. This is a very secretive country in East Asia that most would claim is ruled by a very brutal dictatorial regime. North Korea is bordered by South Korea, obviously, China, and Russia. Officially called the DPRK, or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea has long been a source of intrigue. Before we go any further though, let's take a quick look at some quick and easy facts about North Korea. The DPRK was founded in the northern half of Korea with the assistance of the Soviet Union on September 9th, 1948, after a lengthy occupation by Japan. As of 2018, it's estimated that the country has a population of just over 25 million people who live in an area totaling about 47,000 square miles, giving it a population density of 549.1 per square mile. North Korea's GDP was estimated at 30 million in 2017, with the country's currency being the Korean People's Won. Now that we've got a little bit of a clue about this secretive country, let's look at some more fascinating facts about North Korea. Number 1. North and South Korea have been at war since 1950. After the occupation of Korea by Japan, with the conclusion of World War II, both Soviet Russia and the US had plans for the country's future. This resulted in US forces occupying the south of the country, while the Soviet-led forces occupied the north. This led to a pro-Western government forming in the south under US control, and a Soviet-backed communist government forming in the north. While both sides aimed to unify Korea, they had very different ideas for what the newly unified Korea should look like. Any attempts to find common ground failed time and time again. Tensions rose between the two sides, which eventually led to a war breaking out in 1950. While the war ended up in a stalemate in 1953, there was never an official peace treaty signed between the two parties, and thus the war has never actually ended. Number 2. The people of North Korea do not call themselves North Koreans. The region, which now consists of both North Korea and South Korea, has been one single unified country for the majority of history. This unification has been split ever since the two sides of the country separated after World War II. As far as North Korea is concerned, there is no split. Technically, they are the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and although they may only control the northern part of the Korean peninsula, they are all in fact Korean. According to them, the people in the south are also citizens of the DPRK and thus Koreans, but in this case, these Koreans are being oppressed by an illegitimate Western puppet government. Number 3. The same family has ruled North Korea since it was founded. The first leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea was Kim Il-sung, who rose to power through his actions as a revolutionary guerrilla fighter in World War II. He spent a significant amount of his time in Communist China and the USSR, which resulted in him being placed in control of the Soviet-controlled North Korea. When the DPRK formed, Kim Il-sung was at the helm. He reigned from 1948 until he died in 1994, during which time he earned the title Great Leader. Kim Jong-il succeeded his father in a highly unorthodox move for the communist state. Kim Jong-il was said to have been an incredibly temperamental ruler with an overinflated sense of self-importance, which often undermined his ability to rule effectively. Despite this, he earned the title Dear Leader and reigned until he died in 2011. Kim Jong-un was then appointed as the next leader of the country. Since taking on the role of Supreme Leader in 2011, Kim Jong-un has ruled the country with an iron fist, much like his forefathers. Number 4. Pyongyang Stadium is the largest stadium in the world. Despite being constructed all the way back in 1989, North Korea's Mayday Stadium has the largest seating capacity in the world with a mind-blowing 150,000 seats. The stadium sees the most use during the country's annual Mass Games, an event focused primarily around tightly choreographed dances and impressive gymnastic displays. Number 5. North Korea is not a communist country. A common misconception regarding North Korea is that it is still a communist country. While Kim Il-sung believed in socialism and communism, the country he established rapidly became less and less communist as the years went by. Many classical communist practices were thrown out the window and replaced as seen in the country's new ruling dynasty. The DPRK replaced their communistic principles with something called Juche, a uniquely North Korean political ideology thought up by Kim Il-sung, which focuses primarily on self-reliance. All mention of communism was slowly removed from the official state writing, with the word being struck out of the constitution completely by 2009. Number 6. North Korea has its own calendar. The majority of the world uses the Gregorian calendar, a calendar that connects the years to the birth of Jesus Christ, BC or AD. North Korea actually has a very similar system, but instead it is based upon the birth of great leader Kim Il-sung. The first year in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea's calendar, or the Juche calendar, began in 1912, despite the calendar only being put into place in 1997. Number 7. There is only one art studio in North Korea that is allowed to produce artwork of the country's leaders. Located in the capital of Pyongyang, the Mansudae Art Studio is actually one of the largest art studios in the world. The studio sits on a vast plot of land measuring over 1 million square feet or 120,000 square meters. It strictly employs only the best artists the state can find, all of which come from the best art academies. Some of the nation's greatest monuments were designed and constructed in this monolithic art studio. Number 8. Most North Koreans do not have access to the internet. Aside from a very select group of people, the rest of the country is completely blocked off from the internet. If you happen to live in Pyongyang or one of the North Korea's other major cities and either work or study in an advanced field, then you may be allowed access to the country's own internet. This network runs within the country and allows extremely limited access, a number of heavily censored state-approved websites, and a simple email client. The only other way to get access to the real internet is to work in the government's propaganda wing or hacking units. Such positions tend to be highly prestigious, with exorbitant salaries and privileges to prevent these people from fleeing the country once they get the idea of how much greener the grass actually is on the other side. Number 9. North Korea claims to have a 100% literacy rate. Education seems to be highly valued in North Korea, with the state providing free kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, and even free university education to all citizens. While it is expected that the educational system in North Korea may be severely lacking in some areas, especially regarding international relations, some areas such as literacy rates do seem to be greatly successful. Number 10. Only 2 countries have visa-free travel to North Korea. Unless you've got a Malaysian or Singaporean passport, you're going to have to apply for a visa before you visit North Korea. Even if you do, it's still not easy. Anyone who wishes to visit North Korea must travel with a state-approved travel agency. Number 11. North Korea has the 4th largest army in the world. In the 1990s, Kim Jong-il introduced Sungun, a military-first policy that redefined the future of the country. As a result of the country's increased military focus, it now has the 4th largest active-duty military in the world, which currently stands at around 1.21 million troops, or 4.7% of the country's population. If you count total military personnel, it's a whole different story. If you add up the current active military, paramilitary, and reserve personnel, this number reaches around 10 million people. Number 12. Conscription is mandatory for both men and women in North Korea. The main reason for North Korea's high military numbers comes down to one simple policy: conscription, or the draft as we would call it in America. Until 2015, conscription was only mandatory for male citizens, with women given the opportunity to enlist if they wished to. The changes put in place in 2015 made conscription for women mandatory until the age of 23. On the other hand, military service for men lasts at least 10 years and begins from the age 17. Number 13. Pyongyang's metro system doubles as a nuclear bunker. If you've ever visited the metro in Moscow, Tbilisi, Kiev, or any other former Soviet city important enough to be graced with the Soviet metro system, then North Korea's metro system in Pyongyang will be a strangely familiar sight. Pyongyang's system lies deep underground, with passengers having to travel over 300 feet down to the elaborately decorated platforms. One reason the metro runs so deep is that each station doubles as a nuclear bunker, much like many other Soviet-era systems. This just made me think of the ever-popular Metro video games that take place in a subway after a nuclear war. Number 14. North Korea's leaders live lavish lives. The late North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il was well known for his love of luxury goods. While his fashion choices might have said otherwise, he was actually the world's top consumer of Hennessy cognac. It was reported that Kim Jong-il spent upwards of $300 million each year on luxury products, but that's nothing compared to the numbers that Kim Jong-un has racked up since his rise to power in 2011. Within just 1 year as leader, Kim Jong-un had already spent some $600 million on similar products. Number 15. North Korea actually has its own space program. The success of the program differs greatly depending on who you ask. The North Korean space program gained international attention when its first satellite, no way I can pronounce that, was allegedly launched on August 31st, 1998. North Korea's government claimed that the launch was successful, but no objects were ever tracked in orbit from the launch. Outside North Korea, the launch is considered to have been a failure. There have been 4 launches since, with the latest taking place in 2016. The 2 satellites which actually reached orbit both failed to function, and according to North Korea, all launches have, of course, been great successes. Number 16. There are just 4 TV channels in North Korea. The media in North Korea is entirely state-run, which allows the government to control exactly what its citizens are exposed to. The 4 TV channels which citizens can tune into are Korean Central Television, which is historical propaganda, news, and emergency broadcasts, Mansudae Television, which is educational programs, Ryongnam-san Television, educational programs targeted to students, and Athletic Television, which broadcasts any competitions involving North Korean athletes, as well as documentaries relating to sport in North Korea. Number 17. North Korea is full of natural beauty. While most people think of North Korea, they think of brutalist architecture and an oppressive state. While this is unfortunately the ugly reality in North Korea, the more beautiful parts of the country are often quite missed in the headlines. For example, the country is home to much natural beauty. The Pacific coast has several picturesque beaches with golden sands. If you head inland to Mount Myeongyang, you'll be blessed with stunning mountainscapes, lush forests, and adventurous hiking trails. Number 18. Power cuts are a very common problem in North Korea. The vast majority of North Korea's electrical infrastructure is outdated and falling apart. While the country is actually pushing to replace their current fossil fuel-based power plants with renewable resources, that doesn't solve the present problem of highly irregular power supply. Many common electronics, such as televisions, are only powered for certain periods of the day to prevent the grid from becoming overloaded. Number 19. Rollerblading never went out of fashion in Pyongyang. While rollerblading lost its cool in most countries back in the 2000s, that was not apparently the case for North Korea. Kim Jong-un introduced the sport to the country on a large scale shortly after taking control of the country in 2011. Nowadays, you can find parks specifically designed for rollerblading spread throughout the country's capital. Number 20. North Korea owes Sweden $300 million US. In the 1970s, Sweden jumped at the opportunity to make trade deals with North Korea, as it appeared they were in the midst of an economic boom. One such deal was the sale of 1,000 brand new Volvo sedans, all of which were delivered before payment was made. Something the company would come to regret, considering North Korea never got around to making good on that deal. Each year, the Swedish government recalculates how much North Korea owes them, adding interest. I like Volvos as much as the next person, but that comes out to about $300,000 per car. I don't think any 1970 Volvo is worth $300,000. Well, that's all I have for you guys on this one. I really hope you enjoyed that geography list, those crazy facts about North Korea. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. We're putting out new videos every week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Geography list out.